Ikshita is editor at the Energy Resources and Institute, aka TERI. In her bag, she carries 10 plus years of experience in journalism and publishing with reputing publishing houses such as the Quaint, Times of India, Huffington Post, and many more. And over to you, Ikshita.
Thank you so much. And it's such an impressive turnout. And I can see that there are more than 200 participants already. And I'm very happy to see that how students today are driven towards a course which is considered out of the box and unconventional, and by virtue of being unconventional, it is thought to be a course in environmental studies and sciences, which is away from the regular courses in medical sciences, law, or engineering. So today we'll try and dispel some of these myths and understand what is the concept of green courses and careers and how it should be understood. So what is a green career? So I will be throwing a couple of options at you, and let's see what definition suits best for you. So you have the chat box open, and let's see what all answers we get, and we'll take it from there, right? So what is a green career? Green is the operative word here, okay? So is it about protecting the environment, wildlife conservation and sustainability? Is it only restricted to renewables? Is it about, saving the planet from climate change? Is it about working outdoors related to travel? Is it about not caring about money and being a green savior? Or is it about, activism? So what are your answers? Let me see quickly, and then we'll see if there is a right or wrong answer. I can't see the chat. Okay, someone has said saving the planet, right? Yes, okay, activism. Cool, very nice, Devashmita. First option, Megha is saying wildlife conservation, option A. Okay, renewables, right. So see, all of you are on the right track. All of you are on the right track, and such bright minds, I tell you. So the answer is yes and no. It can be all of this and it can be none of them. Because you have to understand that environmental studies and sciences as a discipline is highly interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, right? So according to the UNEP, a green collar job means to work in these sectors, which include agriculture, manufacturing, research and development, administration, services, and economic activities. And of course, you have all been through the ILO definition in last Saturday's session, that what it entails and what are green jobs and how do they help the green sector. So now coming to the checklist of how to start, what is the starting point? So in terms of your application forms, registration, entrance exam dates, you need to be absolutely on the go. Do not leave everything at the last minute. If you are appearing for more than 2 entrance exams, make sure that you have a timeline, which is there. All the documents are in place. If you're traveling to a separate city, you need to book your tickets in advance, have your accommodation arrangements, everything sorted out. And also make sure that the exam center that you're filling in your form is closest to where you are. And another important thing that I would like to say, I don't know what is the situation right now with the NEP, but students who want to pursue a master's abroad must make sure that they require 16 years of total education. And the undergrad, it's 3 years, except of course, engineering and science. So how do you negotiate that gap? I would recommend that you enroll yourself in a 1-year PG diploma course in environmental studies, and that's how you can bridge the gap. And we'll talk about that by and by. So these are some of the preparation tips that I have prepared for you all. So there are common entrance examinations, whether it is the CAT, the GATE, the JEE, but universities and institutions also have their own entrance examinations, and these can be objective and subjective type both. So what you can do is you can look at the previous year's question papers, you can go through the past year's question papers, practice sample papers, and understand the kind of aptitude that you have. Undergraduate students, I should tell you that you should always have, and if you have an inclination towards environmental studies, try to choose those subjects in class 12, which will have a bearing later, right? Because even if it's the common entrance or the institute's own entrance test, there will be an equal weightage given to both. And one of the important points that I would like to stress on is that always opt for a general course first. For instance, I'll illustrate that with an example. If you somehow feel that you are best suited for a discipline or for a career path in wildlife science or photography, or let's say meteorology, do not take a 3-year course in meteorology or wildlife science, because you will be limiting your options. Take something which is an elective. See, you have to reach the tip of the mountain. So your foundation should be very, very strong. So take a regular science course and then eventually move up. Take a master's in climate science and then take a course in meteorology. And that is how you will be not only have an expansive repertoire in your educational qualification, but you will be able to streamline better because you would have an overview of everything before deciding on that one thing. Now, next, where to study. This is a checklist, which is again very, very important. You must see the ranking of the university that you're planning to study in. What are the courses being offered? Check their website, see the alumni, try and get in touch with the faculty members, see what are the kind of placements that they offer. What is the location? Is the commute fine? Is it not fine? Always try and explore more, branch out. Don't limit yourself to textbooks and books alone. There are research opportunities as well. Look for those. Try to join an eco club, for instance. Write for the environmental magazine in the college that you are enrolled in. Go for scholarships. So this is how you branch out. So today, the book that I am drawing upon from is this book, which is The Green Guide to Environmental Courses and Careers. And it comes very cheap on Amazon, just $90. And it is an excellent handbook. And the disciplines that are there being discussed are these that are here: design and planning, finance management, humanities, science and engineering. Because people tend to think that only science and engineering students will have more options, but that is not the case. You can diversify. As I said, that environmental studies is highly interdisciplinary. You can branch out whenever you wish to. For instance, I do not have an educational background in environmental sciences, but I'm working in the green sector right now as editor. So you have to channelize accordingly. So under design and planning, again, it is divided into environmental architecture, which is what Ms. Asna will be talking about in the later session. Within architecture also, there are areas. There's wildlife photography, filmmaking, documentary. So these are some of the places to study within India and abroad that you can surely check out. Within, again, finance and management. Now, this is a very interesting segment, because under environmental economics, because I had seen that there were some questions on environmental economics and what are the career scopes within that. So you could obviously look at auditing. You can look at rural management under agri-business management and environmental management. Again, this deals with policy making, trying to understand the kind of resource management that there could be in any industry, whether it's a government-run industry or in the private sector. Humanities, as I said, again, it's divided into 3 categories here: journalism, law, psychology. Now, psychology is something that I saw one of the questions that they were very interested in understanding, that how environment and psychology can be, compatible. And I have discussed this in one of the latest slides, and I think it will pique your interest as well. Science and engineering, of course, there's no dearth of options. You have all these options from agriculture to climate science, bioinformatics, energy engineering, forestry. Within marine science also, there are subcategories. And I believe there was a session on marine biology, so I'm sure that you're up to speed on that. And there's oceanography, fishery sciences, etc. One of the interesting things about, under science and engineering is the remote sensing, which is again to do with satellite data and the kind of analysis that happens in terms of population density, things like that. So again, it's a very highly specialized area, and people who are from science and engineering background should explore this. coming to environmental studies and psychology. See, environmental psychology is nothing but trying to study the interaction between human beings and their immediate surroundings and their reaction to the changes in the environment. So this is one of the most topical subjects that one can think of joining right now, especially with climate change risks, global warming, and sustainable development being some of the relevant topics now. So within environmental psychology too, there are subdisciplines. And even though conservation psychology and eco-psychology might seem similar and interlinked, but there is a slight difference between the two. How? Is that conservation psychology is about the development of environmental attitudes, the environmental ethic, how to cultivate a sense of sustainability. What is your behavior? How are you contributing towards conservation of natural resources and things like that? Eco-psychology, on the other hand, is about your the emotional stimuli, the emotional response to climate-related disasters or natural disasters, and what it entails as an outcome. We have seen cases of migration. We have seen cases where climate refugees are, from migrating from one place to another. So how do you rehabilitate them? What are the, counseling sessions, therapies, etc., that can be included in this discipline? And this is where environmental psychologist has a very important role to play, because it is about consciousness raising. And environmental psychology as a discipline is about that, is about consciousness on how to preserve nature. So these are some of the institutes that offer courses in environmental psychology in India and abroad. And this is, so this was an exhaustive list. So this will be shared to you in the resource pack. Just go through the Word document, and it is a state-wise list of all the institutes that have environmental related courses, including the duration, the kind of eligibility that they have, etc. So in order to make you understand, I took the landing page of TERI School of Advanced Studies. And if you simply go to the website and you scroll through the leading toggles, and you see under academic or admission, you will see the kind of programs, the range. Look at the range of subjects. Under master's program, for instance, there is a variety of subjects that you can choose from. So once you click on that, you will be directed to the page where it will show you the syllabi, the duration, the kind of entrance tests, what is the kind of faculty, and that's how it goes. Another interesting thing, and I'm sure you're already aware of, this is India's first online climate school, TerraDo, and which is where it's an amalgamation of all experts from this field on climate change and sustainability. This is an absolute, I would say, recommendation from my side to go and check out the kind of courses, because again, environmental studies, sciences is something that you learn on the go in the field in a practical manner. So you will be able to interact with all kinds of experts when you join an online climate school like this. So what are the prominent international institutes? Of course, it's an exhaustive list. You can go through it at your leisure and see that the kind of courses, because there are niche, streamlined subjects that one might look for, and you will find your own option as well. So now that we have seen what courses there are, and this will give you a seamless transition to the kind of career options that there are in these branches, whether it's in agriculture, finance, ecotourism, climate and architecture, auditing, transport and infrastructure, which is again a subject Gokula Krishna will be talking about sometime from now, on green vehicles, and what are the kind of opportunities that are there. And geology, something that I left out in my previous slide, so I thought I'll put a short list on the kind of careers that you can explore under geology. And technical choices, again, while I was discussing remote sensing, you could also consider being a drone engineer. So it sounds quite fascinating, because it's talking about, it's on confidential data from inaccessible locations, trying to be very, very, very specialized and niche. So again, the million-dollar question that every student has, and which is a valid question, that do green jobs pay? And the answer is a resounding yes, of course. And you can see from these graphs that how the green sector, the employment sector within the green industry is growing. And please be rest assured that it might look quite niche or quite selective today, and you are the future. Because the fact that we are having a 4 Saturday series on green jobs today, it is one of the most, it is evident that it is on the mainstream, it is on the global map right now. So please don't worry about remuneration and whether you'll get the short end of the stick if you join a green job. It is highly, it's well paying. So these are some of the books that I listed as a reference. And the first book that you see, which is recommended and which is, it's actually a UGC production. This is an absolute necessity in your library because it has everything that you are looking for, all answers to your questions on environmental sciences, the direction that you're headed, and the kind of options that you can look for. I've also shared a catalog of titles that Terry has on environmental studies. You can simply click on that and look through the archives and the libraries. And there is another link for more books, which I'm sure will be helpful to you. Scholarships, again, I said it, yes.
Sorry, before we go for the
yes,
there is a very relevant question from Joyce. She's asking, what will be the best course to take up after doing BSc in environmental science? So if you could please answer that. Any relevant or the top 2-3 courses which you want to say for any person who has just completed their BSc environmental science?
See, BSc and MSc, again, it's in environmental science, again, in what branch? Environmental sciences, because there was a question on ecology as well. So environmental sciences, you can go for environmental management. There are management options, agribusiness management. So the entire list that I provided there, because I cannot explain the kind of, the colleges and universities that offer courses in each and every discipline. So if you go through the document, you will be able to find out exactly what you need after you've completed environmental sciences. There's an MSc courses are offered in environmental sciences. And since you have taken environmental sciences, which is an umbrella term, you will not find any problem in deciding the specific course that you are looking for.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
So yeah, scholarships for sustainable education. These are some of the institutes and organizations that you could look at, and these are other useful links. I hope I have not exceeded the time limit, and I hope I've been able to cover as much as I could in this span. I would like to thank the entire team of UNICEF India for hosting such a timely and relevant series on green jobs. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to be part of this commendable initiative. If you have more questions, please write to me here, all crunched up, and it might have just zipped through. Please write to me if you have any specific questions, and I would be happy to help.
Thank you so much, Ipshita, for that comprehensive overview.
That's it. In conclusion, I would just like to say that, we are in a world where people they want to become green card holders, So instead of that, if you could take a slight detour and obsess over becoming a green job holder, then things would be much more sustainable and eco-friendlier. So with that, thank you so much.